Psalm 44 opens with a corporate remembrance. The psalmist speaks on behalf of the community, recalling what God accomplished for their ancestors. We have heard with our ears, O God, our fathers have told us, what work thou didst in their days, in the times of old. Psalm 44 verse 1. This psalm begins not with present circumstances, but with past victories. The phrase "we have heard with our ears" emphasizes the oral transmission of history. The people did not witness these events themselves. They received the accounts through testimony. Their fathers told them. Generation after generation passed down the stories of God's intervention. The hearing came through faithful teaching and through careful preservation of the record. Their fathers told them, "What work thou didst." The fathers did not recount their own achievements, but described God's deeds. They narrated what God accomplished, not what men achieved. The focus remained on divine action, not human effort. These works occurred in their days, in the times of old. The psalmist refers to the distant past, to the era of conquest, to the days when Israel entered Canaan. The fathers who told these stories lived closer to those events. They heard from their fathers, who heard from theirs. The chain of testimony reached back to eyewitnesses. Verse 2 provides specific details. How thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand, and plantedst them. How thou didst afflict the people, and cast them out. Psalm 44, verse 2. God drove out the Canaanites. The nations that occupied the land did not leave of their own volition. God removed them. The phrase "with thy hand" attributes the action to God's power. The hand represents strength and ability. God's hand executed judgment on the nations. His hand cleared the land and made room for Israel. God plantedst them. He planted Israel in Canaan like a farmer plants a vine. The metaphor appears throughout Scripture. God transplanted his people from Egypt into the Promised Land. He rooted them in the soil and established them in their inheritance. The parallel structure continues. How thou didst afflict the people and cast them out. God afflicted the Canaanite nations. He sent judgment upon them. Their wickedness reached fullness, and God executed sentence. He cast them out of the land they occupied. The removal was complete and final. Verse 3 explains the method. For they got not the land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them, but thy right hand and thine arm, and the light of thy countenance, because thou hadst a favor unto them. Psalm 44, verse 3. The conquest did not depend on Israel's military prowess. Their swords did not win the land, and their arms did not secure the victory. The phrase, "their own sword," refers to military strength. Israel possessed swords, and they fought against the Canaanites. But the weapons alone did not gain them the land. Military might prove insufficient without divine intervention. Neither did their own arm save them. The arm represents human power and effort. Their military capability did not determine the outcome. Their training, their numbers, and their strategy did not secure the conquest. But thy right hand and thine arm, and the light of thy countenance. God's right hand worked on their behalf, and his arm fought for them. Each phrase emphasizes divine action. The right hand signifies power and favor. God's right hand overthrew enemies and scattered opposition. The light of his countenance represents his favorable presence. God looked upon Israel with approval. He smiled at them. The last phrase reveals the ultimate reason. Because thou hadst a favor unto them. God favored Israel. He chose them. He delighted in them. His favor preceded the conquest, and his kindness explained the victory. This passage teaches several truths. First, God's people must remember his past works. Memory sustains faith during present trials. The psalmist begins with remembrance because the past reveals God's character. What God did before, he can do again. Second, the passage emphasizes God's sovereignty in deliverance. Israel did not conquer Canaan through superior military force. God gave them the land. Human effort took part in the conquest, but divine power controlled the outcome.